You've found a civil service job you really want. You upload your CV, and then suddenly, you're asked for a 500, 750, or even a 1,250-word statement of suitability. Welcome to this explainer. We're diving straight into what this document actually is and how you can craft a winning one.
It's a scenario so many of us know well, right? You're cruising through the application and bam, you hit a wall. That empty text box is just sitting there, staring at you, asking for a massive chunk of text. It's literally standing between you and your potential new career. So what exactly are you supposed to write to fill that space? Competition is fierce for these roles, so it's completely natural to wonder what hiring panels actually want from you here. Well, the absolute simplest way to think about it is this. Your statement of suitability is not a summary of your career. Scratch that idea entirely. Instead, it is your targeted argument for why you meet the specific requirements of that exact job.
Let's move to Section 1, the Autobiography Trap.
Okay, so here's one of the biggest mistakes candidates make. They write what is essentially an autobiography. You know the drill. They tell the recruiter where they work, what their daily responsibilities are, listing out every single thing they've achieved. But here's the reality check. The recruiter isn't asking, "Tell me about yourself." No way. What they're explicitly asking is, "Show me why you meet the criteria we've specified for this role." Because of that, your starting point always has to be the job advert.
Which brings us nicely to Section 2, decoding the job advert.
To actually give recruiters what they want, you have to dig into that advert. You need to pay super close attention to the essential criteria, the person specification, and, frankly, anything the advert explicitly says is going to be assessed at the Sift stage. Recruiters are hunting for evidence against these specific requirements. That is your blueprint.
This brings up a crucial point, the difference between your CV and your statement. Look, your CV generally tells them what you did. It might say something like, managed relationships with senior stakeholders across multiple organizations. Great, but your statement has to go further. It must explain why and how that experience makes you suitable. Who were those stakeholders? Why was the relationship tough? What did you personally do to influence them? What actually changed because you were there? A strong statement says, brought together 5 organizations with competing priorities and secured agreement. See the difference? That is actual evidence.
All right, let's look at Section 3, claims versus actual evidence. Listen, saying I am an excellent stakeholder manager is just a claim. Literally anyone can type that into a box. Recruiters don't want claims. They want hard evidence. Strong statements demonstrate your relevant experience, your personal contribution, the sheer complexity or scale of the situation, the specific actions you took, and the measurable outcomes. They want a crystal clear connection to those advertised criteria we just talked about. Let's jump to Section 4, mastering the STAR method.
Now, to structure all this evidence clearly without sounding like a robot, a lot of people turn to the tried and true STAR method: situation, task, action, and result. You don't have to follow it rigidly, but borrowing the logic of this method is a fantastic way to keep your examples purposeful and super easy for a Sift panel to follow. But here is the absolute secret sauce. The real weight belongs on your action and your result. Setting up the situation and task, sure, that's helpful context, but you have to make sure the vast majority of your word count zeroes in on the specific actions you took to solve the problem and the results you achieved. Don't waste your precious limited word count describing background information. Spend those words proving your impact. And speaking of impact, let's talk about quantifying those results, providing measurable outcomes, whether that's a specific percentage improvement, the amount of time saved, or the sheer amount of money you managed, helps panels quickly compare candidates and strips away the ambiguity. You should always strive to prove your real, tangible impact. While focusing on results is absolutely key, remember that you don't need to force a rigid structure. Please don't assume your entire statement has to read like a bunch of disjointed STAR examples awkwardly glued together. Keep your writing plain, keep it concise, and focus on creating a natural narrative that flows logically. It's a professional conversation, not a checklist.
Moving on to Section 5, tailoring to the grade. You know, a brilliant statement for Job A isn't automatically a brilliant statement for Job B. Take 2 different grade 7 jobs, for example. They could require completely different evidence. One might heavily prioritize strategic leadership and ministerial engagement, while the other might be all about program delivery and financial management. You absolutely must tailor your evidence to the specific demands of the advert. One size definitely does not fit all. Let's wrap up with Section 6, your final submission checks.
Before you write anything, or right before you're about to hit submit on that final draft, you need to take a step back. Review your work honestly against the core requirements of the job. Ask yourself, did I actually answer the prompt?
Before you send off that application, mentally run through this 3-question checklist. Number 1, what exactly are they assessing? Check the job advert one last time. Number 2, what is my absolute strongest evidence for each requirement? And number 3, have I made it ridiculously easy for the recruiter to actually see that evidence?
Because ultimately, your statement of suitability isn't about describing everything you've ever done in your entire life. It's about cherry-picking your strongest, most relevant evidence to make an undeniable, rock-solid case that you are the right fit. You have the skills, you have the experience. So the final question is, are you ready to stop describing what you've done and start proving you can do this job?